improve circulation, prepare your tissues better for exercise and mobilise stiff and immobile joints. Follow along with this foam roller routine. This foam roller routine is going to take about 7 minutes. It will prepare the tissues fantastically for exercise and allow you to scan the body to work out how hard to go on any given day with your exercise, or not, as the case may be. It's also really good for mobilizing the spine if you are stiff and lacking mobility there from sitting all day at work. Let's get into the routine. So first of all, we're going to do the long lie. So this is laying lengthways along the foam roller with your tailbone on one end and the very top of the head on the other. This is brilliant for decompressing the spine. If nothing else, this is really good for taking a lot of the loading out of the spine. We stand, sit and walk around all day, and that obviously compresses the spine through gravity. Now, when we're in this position, it gives us a chance to take a lot of that pressure out of the discs and out of the spinal segments. So have one hand palm up, look away from that hand, so you're looking at palm down. Take a deep breath in and then rotate to the other side as you breathe out. Switch the hands over. And this will be a really good neck stretch as well. So the next step is the calf foam rolling. So we're going to work all the way from the Achilles, which gets a lot of stress put through that area of the body. And how often do we actually look after this part of the body? Not very often is probably my assessment on that, having worked with people for quite a long time now. So working all the way from the Achilles all the way up to the back of the knee, and also make sure that you turn the foot slightly about 45 degrees off one way and 45 degrees off the other way, just to make sure we're working through both sides of the calf. And then we're going to come up to the hamstrings. Now the hamstrings, you've got 3 hamstring muscles. 2 run down one side of the leg and the other one runs down the outside of the leg. So you need to make sure again that you turn the foot off slightly to one side, so about 45 degrees pointing out and then 45 degrees pointing in, as well as having the foot pointing straight up to the ceiling, just to make sure that you hit all aspects of the hamstring. And you'll also want to make sure that you spend a fair bit of time at the knee end of the hamstring, because we sit at desks and in cars and what have you all day. The knee is flexed probably to about 90 degrees a lot of the time, which means that the hamstrings down there and a lot of the tissues get very tight. So then we're moving up onto the glutes. So you're actually going to cross one leg and roll yourself over onto the same side that the leg is crossed. That'll allow you to get access more easily to the obvious muscle. There is the glute max, which is the large muscle of the buttock, but then we've got some muscles that sit underneath that on the hip, help with rotation and what have you, and those can often be very tight. So getting into that position and just working that tissue out is a fantastic thing to do. I like to keep the leg crossed as I move down into the lower back. Helps me to feel like I get access to one side of the lower back more easily. You can see I'm very slightly rolling off to one side as I roll through the lower back. I make sure that I don't at any point roll directly on the spine of the lower back or the lumbar spine. So that could potentially cause problems if we were to get that wrong. So let's just avoid that at all costs. Then we're going to move into the upper back. So for the upper back, you want to start about 2/3 of the way down, and then make sure that we pull the foam roller all the way up to the shoulder blades. I do about 3 or 4 of those typically. And then we're into the thoracic extensions. Now if you sit at a desk, you sit in the car, you sit on the sofa, you're very likely to have quite a rigid posture in a flexed position. That means bending forward. So using this strategy to help open up the thoracic spine is a fantastic idea, particularly if you're going to do any overhead exercises. This will enable you to look after your shoulder properly. So we clasp the hands behind the head, support the head but don't pull on the head at any point. Take a nice deep breath in as we go over. Breathe out again as we come back up. And then move down the roller about 1 inch at a time. So not moving big chunks, just nice small incremental steps. Then we're into the lats. Now, if you've got round shoulders, again, as I said, sit at desks. A lot of the common exercises that we do will actually promote a rounded shoulder and tight lats. So this is actually really nice to work through the lats and just see how that tissue is feeling. It's an area that again gets often neglected, so just working from the armpit down about 6 inches. So you can see now the roller's pointing about 45 degrees to the angle of my body, so I'm running up the inner thigh all the way to the groin and all the way down to the knee. That's working the adductors, and then I've come up onto the front of the thigh now, so that's working more the quadriceps. And you can see I'm slowly starting to roll myself around, and I'm using the knee there. Every time I get to a spot that's a little bit tight, I'll actually flex the knee, and that helps the tissue move underneath. So between the roller and the actual bone, tissue's moving underneath there, and that's causing an improvement in what I'm trying to achieve by mobilizing and getting this improving that tissue's quality basically. So you'll find that if you've got any knots, that will really help you to iron those out and get much better function through those muscles for when you come to use them in your exercises. Thanks for watching. I hope the body feels much better after that foam roller routine. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again soon.